Right now, people all along the Texas Gulf Coast are getting a first look at damage after the fiercest hurricane to hit the U.S. in more than a decade makes landfall as a Category 4 storm.
It just ripped the whole front part of the building off.
And it's not over yet. Many who remain in the storm's path are bracing for another 20 inches of rain. We have team coverage tonight with News on 6 storm trackers along the path of destruction.
In the firing line of, in the worst of it.
Plus, we'll hear from a Green Country student whose family got out just in time.
I don't know yet the full damage of my house.
And how some of Oklahoma's own are stepping in to help those most affected by the disaster.
On the scene, on the story, News on 6 starts now.
Harvey has now weakened to a tropical storm, but parts of Texas are bracing for catastrophic flooding. The storm made landfall Friday night, and state officials say the threat is far from over. It's already being blamed for at least one death in the town of Rockport. Don Champion is on the scene in Corpus Christi.
Hurricane Harvey cut a path of destruction across southeast Texas. But relentless rain is the major threat right now.
For now, just wait out the storm. We're going to have to keep at my sister's because we're scared that it might flood here.
Friday night, the monster storm slammed into the Gulf Coast near Rockport as a Category 4 hurricane with 130-mile-per-hour winds. Harvey blew out windows and collapsed the third floor of this hotel.
Curtains on the third floor got sucked out of the building, or on the second floor got sucked out of the building between the walls and are now poking out on the outside.
Harvey has already dumped heavy rain across Texas, but much more is coming as the storm is expected to sit over this area through early next week.
Our biggest concern is the possibility of between 20 and 30 more inches of rain.
In Missouri City, a suspected tornado ripped through the Sienna Plantation neighborhood, damaging as many as 50 homes.
We're freaking out, and literally you could just feel the power of the house just shaking, almost lifting up.
Emergency crews spent the day rescuing people who rode out the storm in their homes. Don Champion, CBS News, Corpus Christi, Texas.
And News on 6 storm tracker Vaughn Castor has been right in the middle of Harvey's path since it blew through the Texas Gulf Coast yesterday. Vaughn now joins me on the phone. So Vaughn, where are you and what does it look like right now?
Oh, Aaron, we're in Corpus Christi, and things have really calmed down from 24 hours ago. But today we were over in Port Aransas, which took pretty much a direct hit from the eye wall. And I think they had measured winds of 131 miles an hour in Port Aransas. So there's a lot of structural damage there. And we talked to several people that rode it out there, and they seem quite shaken and very, very grateful that they're alive. Back to you, Aaron.
Wow, very grateful they're alive. Kind of a sobering thing to go through when initially a lot of people didn't expect it to be as bad as it is, Mike.
That's right. In fact, it made history as one of the strongest storms to hit Texas in really decades. Here's a look at what its impact has been so far and legacy so far. It was the last, this was the first Category 4 to make landfall since Hurricane Charlie. That's what hit the Tampa Bay area back in August of 2004. And then you go back even further to find the last landfalling Category 4 hurricane in Texas, and that was Carla. And it did hit around the Corpus Christi area and moved up towards Galveston in 1961. So it was a long drought of Category 4 or 5 hurricanes, and unfortunately that drought was broken. Here's a look at Viper 3D radar showing the remnants. Tropical storm Harvey spinning over the same 10 to 15 miles. It has hardly moved at all this afternoon. And of course, as we look at our satellite imagery, we're losing some of those cooler cloud tops indicating that weakening trend. So as we move forward, we'll be talking more about Harvey, its impacts on us, and other storm chances in the near future coming to Green Country.
All right, thanks, Mike.
Yep.
All right, a Tulsa college student is keeping a very close watch on the weather. Her family lives in Texas and evacuated from the coast just in time. News on 6's Amy Slanchett continues our team coverage.
Here's a look at Tropical Storm Harvey. Carissa Gutierrez's family lives in Corpus Christi, but right now they're a few hours north in Austin. These are the images family friends are sending Carissa after the storm blew through her hometown. Damaged apartments near the shore, and about 15 minutes away, a mess left behind in a neighborhood right next to hers.
It's a little bit scary and a little bit terrifying because weather is so powerful. It could do so much damage.
The Oral Roberts University student is starting off her senior senior year with her family's safety on her heart and mind.
I've been in contact with them every other hour.
Her parents, 2 brothers, and sister-in-law hit the road for Austin on Friday, not taking any chances. They're keeping up on FaceTime, talking constantly.
Hi.
And while the damage in Corpus Christi can look overwhelming,
I'm just hoping that the house is good.
Yeah.
the Gutierrez family is staying calm.
It's heading this way too, but we're just going to put it in God's hands.
Just keeping God in the mix and praying for protection and safety. And as long as my family was safely away from the coast, that's what mattered to me.
Chris and Valinda plan to hunker down until they get the all clear to head back home.
I love you so much.
Okay, I love you too. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, Mom.
On the scene on the story in Tulsa, Amy Slanchik, News on 6.
Oklahomans are sending more help to Texas. The Red Cross says 32 volunteers and 7 emergency response vehicles are on the way to Corpus Christi right now. 80 employees from OG&E are planning to head south early Monday morning and to help restore power in that storm zone. And as folks in Texas begin cleaning up after the storm, News on 6 will have a crew along the Gulf Coast. Craig Day will have live reports beginning tomorrow night. A teenager accused of killing his stepmom could get as little as 7 months of treatment. A Craig County judge recently certified Coton Orr as a youthful offender instead of an adult. News on 6's Katira Winfrey spoke to the victim's family today, and they are angry.
Police say Colton Orr shot Laura Hendricks before coming here to the Veneta Police Department. They say when he got inside, he asked for a hug and then told one of the employees that he had just shot his stepmom. His stepmom was 38-year-old Laura Hendricks. Orr and his dad had been living with her at their home in Veneta. Police say Hendricks and Orr were the only people at home during the shooting. Initially, Orr told police he shot Hendricks because he'd been molested, but Hendricks' family says since then, Orr has backtracked on that allegation, and they believe he shot her because she was a stickler for the rules. Also before the shooting, the family says Orr had been getting anger management counseling and thinks he may have killed her out of anger. Hendricks' father says this past year has been tough on the family, and they've had to really lean on each other to get through it.
I don't feel by any means that I'm the one doing the most suffering. I feel like Samantha probably is suffering the worst. She lost her mom at 18 and gets to go the rest of her life without her. So there's your biggest thing to live with there for me.
Coming up on News on 6 at 10 o'clock, we'll hear from Hendricks' daughter, who was off at college when she found out her mom had been killed. Reporting on the scene on the story in Veneta, Katira Winfrey, News on 6.
Some Pawhuska students will finally head back to class after a gas leak delayed the start of school for more than a week. Pawhuska Elementary School will be back in session on Monday. District leaders hope to have the middle and high schools back open by the middle of next week. Questions surround the background of a newly appointed police chief after his name is linked to websites aimed at skinheads and white nationalists. Reserve Officer Bart Alsbrook was named Colbert's interim chief this week. His name is listed as the owner of a website called ISD Records that sells racist media and memorabilia. The interim chief says it's not him. A record search failed to find another Bart Alsbrook anywhere in the United States. The site was taken down just hours after he was asked about it. Some Oklahoma police officers are taking part in a new training program to improve their communication skills in the Racial Intelligence Training and Engagement Program. Norman officers will learn ways to overcome implicit bias. Officials say Wright will also teach officers ways to de-escalate calls. The first set of officers will finish their training in January. Hundreds of people pushed themselves to the limit today at Tulsa's Post Oak Lodge to conquer the gauntlet. Competitors braved 32 obstacles over the 4-mile course. Brianna Calvert won the elite women's division and says the course is a good training for the national championship.
And the way they place obstacles, I mean, the finish line, you have these 5 8-foot walls and the Stairway to Heaven, which is one of their signature obstacles. It's going to be at the U.S. Championships next weekend. It's going to be at the World Championships in Canada. So it's brutal all around. You put it all together and it makes for a hard 4 miles for sure.
Event staff says even though it looks pretty intimidating, anyone can do it.